It's Robo, and we're back with another episode of Robo-Reviews. And on this episode of Robo-Reviews, we're going to take a look at something you guys have been asking for quite some time. And that is an updated video on my Z Customs Airsoft M4 build, affectionately known as my ZTW. Check it out. So, like I said, guys, today we're going to take a look at my Z Customs upgraded M4 rifle that I use as my primary build in Airsoft. Now, for some of you that have actually followed the progression of this rifle over the last year or two, some of the outside features will look very familiar, and that's because they've been on here for quite some time. I'm a big proponent of, if it works for me and it's not broken, don't fix it in terms of the accessories. Now, I do like to experiment, so the things that you've seen here in long-term use are the best, in my opinion, for my use, and that comes through lots and lots of testing and experience. So take that in mind while I'm going over this stuff. We'll go over these external features, some of the new tools I have in place, as well as we'll take a look at the parts list that make the inside of this rifle such a beast. And that's actually what my friend Zimming did, or Z Custom Airsoft, when I gave it to him to tech. Now, he's largely considered in my local area one of the, if not the best airsoft techs in the market. The guy is literally a wizard when it comes to airsoft teching. So with that being said, let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this review, and I'll get to a short performance test after so you can see the results of Z's work. So starting at the front end, we've got a Pts Mark 18 suppressor. Essentially, it's a repro AAC M4 2000 suppressor. Now, this isn't the old Pts AAC branded ones. These are just ones they had left over with no brands on them, and they've marketed them as a Pts product now. Now, this is obviously a quick detach, just like the AAC suppressor is. So literally, it's just a screw on, and it reveals, again, sort of an AAC front end on that in terms of a flash hider. In terms of my actual rail system itself, this is the Centurion Arms PTS CMR 12.5-inch rail. I absolutely love this rail. It's minimalist. It's small diameter, so it's great for controlling the front end. Now, mounted up front, in terms of my illumination tools, I'm using a Inforce WML. Now, just behind that, I have mounted a Steiner Defense or Laser Devices OTAL C, and this is the IR version. Now, what an OTAL is actually an offset tactical aiming laser, and what that means is that it's offset from the bore so the laser can actually get past your front sight post, which I still use to co-witness with my optic. Now, it's the IR variant because I don't need or use an aiming laser during the day, meaning that I don't need a visible laser. I'm using an IR laser in conjunction with my PVS 14 night vision monocles for night operations. Now, in terms of foregrip, I still use a PTS enhanced polymer foregrip. Now, this is the short version. Now, for the most part, when I use this tool, I'm using it more like a hand stop, but I still do like a foregrip just in case I do need to modify that grip for weird shooting angles. Now, bringing it back to the receiver set, my upper receiver is a Repro by G&P Voltor modular upper receiver, or the MER1 upper receiver. I just love the geometry on this, so that's why I use that. Now, the lower receiver is just a classic LMT or Lewis Machine and Tool lower receiver. Now, the charging handle I'm using is a Repro Raptor charging handle, which is an ambidextrous charging handle. Does it do anything for an AEG? Not really. In terms of my weapon, it just pulls back the mock bolt to actually give me access to my hop-up unit. The pistol grip is a PTS enhanced polymer grip. Now, the magazines that I'm using are the EPM magazines by PTS, or the enhanced polymer magazines. Now, while they do have some feeding issues when you stuff them full, if you don't stuff them full, I've found them to be exceedingly reliable magazines for you, plus high quality polymer. You can't go wrong with that. Now, in terms of fire selector, I'm actually using the PTS licensed BAD fire selector, or Battle Arms Development fire selector. When you buy the kit, it comes with multiple different kinds of levers. Mine, I've just got a full size lever on here. It's nice and crisp. And it's nice positive engagement when I use it. Now, in terms of the optic setup, this can change from event to event just depending on how I'm feeling. Now, what I've got set up here is generally how I'll run it. Now, in terms of the optic itself, I'm using a T1-like optic, It's actually made by Primary Arms. It's an entry-level firearms optic that's actually the perfect price point for its quality to use in airsoft. Now, being a T1-like optic, it gives you the same sort of performance. It's a micro dot system. It's a simple red dot design, and I've got that mounted on a Samson Manufacturing RAM mount, which funny enough almost cost as much as the optic itself. Now, with that being said, it's still, by comparison to repro optics, much higher quality, much more efficient on batteries, and again, there's literally no reason why not to jump to an entry-level firearms optic at this price point versus going with a repro. Now, speaking of repros, this is a repro of an Eotech G33 magnifier. It is a flip to side mechanism in terms of engaging and disengaging the magnification, and it is a 3 times. Now, do I use this often? In outdoor, yes. Indoor, not so much, because I don't really need a lot of magnification. Now, in terms of magnification in airsoft anyways, you still don't really need a lot. You just need just enough to confirm where your BBs are hitting due to the distances we're shooting. But for all intents and purposes, this is a great addition to line up with the red dot sight itself for extra confirmation purposes. Moving towards the back, I use a Magpul ASAP sling mount, which gives me great ambidextrous use of my sling, which I actually use a Magpul MS3 sling with this. So it allows me to offhand shoot without getting tied up in the transition. And right towards the back, I'm using a Magpul CTR stock with extended or enhanced butt pad. I found that this is the most comfortable stock for me to use in terms of long-term gameplay. It's efficient, it works, it looks sexy enough for me, so that does the job. Now, we are obviously talking about airsoft, so looks do play a huge part in our sport because it's a part of the creative aspect that we can modify to create a unique persona or unique gameplay experience for ourselves. Now, take that to a limited degree. I urge a lot of you, when you're thinking about the outer build of your weapon, you think about how useful it is to you. And I don't mean just based on looks, I mean based on your gameplay. How can the devices you attach to this weapon enhance your gameplay capabilities? Now, along with that, take into account how the dynamics of using your weapon change based on what, where, and how much you put on your weapon. Think about how the weight distribution changes, how the overall weight of the weapon itself will affect your gameplay over longer periods of time, and take into account what different optic combinations or different optic utilities themselves will help or detract from your overall skill level while deploying the weapon. So again, while airsoft is mostly about making it look cool, the looking cool also affects how well you do the gameplay. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about these things. So with all the cool guy outer stuff taken care of, let's actually get to the meat and potatoes of what makes a Z Customs airsoft build pretty much the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to airsoft, at least here in Canada. Now, the barrel itself is a Prometheus EG 6.03 millimeter diameter stainless steel barrel. Now, it is in a 363 millimeter length or an M4 length inner barrel. It is matched up with a ProWin hop-up for M4s, and then it uses a VFC hop-up rubber, which has actually been R-hop modified into the unit itself. Now, a couple things Z has done in terms of labor to improve the barrel group itself, and that is the hop-up has been shimmed to the barrel and the hop-up rubber has been tied to the barrel just to improve air seal performance. And a quick mention before we enter the gearbox portion, I am using for a fire control unit a Black Talon Concept or a BTC Spectre MOSFET. Now, in my experience, hands down, the BTC Spectre is the absolute best fire control unit or MOSFET that you can install into an AEG. The only trouble is it is exceedingly rare because BTC makes them in such low batches. Now, if you can get your hands on one, it is absolutely awesome, so kind of keep your eye out there. So now let's get into the drive system for this laser beam, and it's where most of Z's work was done. In an AEG platform, your gearbox is pretty much going to be the heart and soul of what drives the performance. Yes, barrel group matters. Yes, air seal matters, all that fun stuff. But the most work will be done on an AEG gearbox. And let me tell you, with what Z has done, there's a reason why we affectionately call his work ZTWs. The final product by Z literally rivals that of Sistema-like quality and reliability, which is why instead of PTW, we call it ZTW. And anybody who has a Z Customs Airsoft worked on weapon pretty much knows what I'm talking about there. So let's go through the list of parts that went into this bad boy, which make it such a laser beam. So I'm gonna cover a quick list of everything that went into this gearbox, so that way if you're a tech somewhere else in the world and have been looking for the right mixture of parts to make a beast kind of build, or maybe you're a player that's interested in Z's work and you want to replicate what he's done to my weapon. So in terms of the quick rundown of the parts list, in terms of the gears, we're using Siegetek 10.44:1 ratio DSG gears, as well as a Siegetek pinion gear. For the motor, we're using a Tinley U30K motor, a Lonix cylinder head, Sorbo and Neopad combo, Lonix nozzle, SHS tappet plate, SHS piston, Lonix piston head, a ZCI steel full cylinder, a Lonix set of 8mm steel bushings, a Modify shim set, a Lonix M120 spring, and Modify rotary spring guide. Now a couple other things that have gone into that is the bushings themselves are glued in, as well as the piston rack is glued in just for stability over time. And now the other thing too is that the gears and cylinder themselves have been short stroked by 3 teeth. So that's a complete listing of the parts that have gone into the inside of this weapon to basically provide me the performance that supports my physical play. Now for a lot of you that have been tracking my YouTube channel for a long time, is that my old build was very whiny, and it was pretty much stock, and honestly I hit a wall with it at certain point in my performance. My physical play was up here, and what I expected out of my airsoft weapon was up here as well, but what I was getting was down here. Now Z has completely flipped that idea upside down for me in terms of where I expect the performance of an AEG to be to support my physical play style. There was a time and place in airsoft for me where I basically kind of shrugged and said, well, it's airsoft, I can't demand too much. And I've been taught a different lesson. I can absolutely demand much more out of this weapon, and more so, and more importantly, I think, is instead of demanding performance out of it, I actually don't need to think about the performance, and that's the big one. I'm not actually questioning whether this is gonna work or perform up to its standard when the time comes to pull the trigger. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that I firmly believe these days that you're far better off buying less airsoft weapons and putting more money into fewer airsoft weapons to bring them up to the performance rather than relying on, 4 to 6 different backup weapons. So with all that talking taken care of, let's get to a little demonstration of what this baby does. Now this won't be an accuracy test for you by any means. I'm just in my studio, so it's more the sights and sound and the performance of the gun itself, and you're just gonna have to take my word for it. This thing is a laser beam out to 200 to 300 feet. Absolutely no problem every single time, which again, that mirrors my USA gun done by Oppenheimer Airsoft, which you guys have heard about, and I will be reviewing at SHOT Show this year, so be on the lookout for that as well. So with that being said, let's get to it. So while by no means am I a full auto person at Milsim events, I'm generally strictly semi only based on the rule sets for the events I attend. We're gonna flip it to full pew-pew time here to show you just how awesome the performance of a ZTW build is. So with that being said, let's get to business. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So there you have it. There's my Z Custom Airsoft ZTW M4 build. Like I said, a lot of you guys recognize the outer parts. There have been some things that have changed over the last year or so, but the real change that really matters is the insides, which my buddy Z basically turned this thing into the Ferrari of AEGs. Yes, systemas exist. Yes, they're very high quality, but for those of you who don't want to make a jump to Systema, just know that with the right tech in your back pocket, you can get damn near Systema quality and performance out of an AEG by putting the right amount of money to some skilled teching work. So with that being said, if you are thinking about getting a performance-tuned airsoft gun into your mix, do check out custom airsoft teching services like Z Custom Airsoft or Oppenheimer Airsoft down in the United States. Again, you are going to put some money in their pockets from your bank account to do this, But in the end, I guarantee you, your experience with your airsoft equipment will go off the charts, and therefore it has great value. It'll be worth your time and money. Please do check out both of their Facebooks and websites. I've got them linked in the description below. And obviously, if you have any more questions about this rifle or its build, please do drop me a line in the comments below, and I will take care of those just as soon as I can get to them. Thanks, guys. So there you have it. That pretty much takes care of another Robo-Reviews. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Now, just like I said at the end of the actual review portion, I'm a firm believer in that custom tech work to a couple of your airsoft weapons is highly worth your time and money over, say, buying a giant collection at some points. The benefits to your performance as well as your overall airsoft experience with these weapons make it worth the value you put back into them. Now, if you yourself are interested in getting some performance tech work done on your weapons, please do check out the two services that I have personally used. In Canada, that would be Z Custom Airsoft Tech Services, and in the States would be Oppenheimer Airsoft. Now, I've linked all of their information in the description below for your ease, so please do check them out. Now, in terms of what's coming down the pipes next, I do still have plenty of reviews to get your way, as well as some brand new gameplay featuring the start of my Faded Giant 4 footage. Now, be patient with me. I am working hard to bring you those as soon as possible. Now, as always, I do want to take a quick second to thank my two most awesome sponsors, being Enola Gay Tactical Smoke Grenades and Red Wolf Airsoft. Now, both of these companies provide me support in such a way that allow me to do more airsoft, but more importantly, bring you guys more gameplay, more reviews, and more philosophies to learn from and enjoy. So big thumbs up to both of these companies. Their links are in the description below. So whether you did or you didn't like this video, I still kind of want to know about it. Drop me a line in the comments section below. I love the conversation and the feedback. If you could do me a huge solid, that is like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Keeps me happening in this YouTube game. And until next time, guys, keep having fun playing airsoft, being good community members, defend what you love. Later, guys.